All right, we are live. So, hey everyone, welcome to another Running Wild Storytellers Happy Hour. You are here with me. I am Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild Press, and Tihi Hazlett, who is one of our amazing authors. If you have never seen or read Tihi's work, honey, you need to do it. So, we published Tihi's collection, Dark Corners, in 2019, and it was named one of the best of 2019 by Kirkus Reviews. And it was called out by the executive editor of Kirkus as being the kind of books that needs to be published, the kind of stories that need to be published. I got to tell you, T, I still have fantasies about us getting this in front of Jordan Peele, because I think Come Clean, he would nail Come Clean. I mean, like, it would be killer. Okay. Now, today, our guest, who sadly got suckered into this because I just begged. I was like on my knees, please join us, is Nicole. So, Nicole, for all of you who don't know Nicole, she is one of our amazing production managers. She is one of the people who makes us hum. She makes sure we get our stuff done. She is our glue. We love Nicole. So, with that, I am going to hand this over to Tihi. He is going to explain our Storytellers Happy Hour, what is about to go down, and I promise you, you'll have a blast. So, Tihi.
Awesome. It's going to be a ton of fun. We have a big jar full of different story prompts, and I'm going to pull at random. We can do a little bit of switching around. We don't want to like saddle somebody with something they just don't have. But we're going to pull different sort of prompts. And then we have a few minutes to try to figure out what sort of story, hopefully a true story, although, we all embellish a little bit.
We're all storytellers. I mean, come on.
Exactly. If
alien shows up, so what?
Exactly. Or if everyone you're telling a story about is dead, like they can't refute what you're saying, so it's fine.
Right?
Yep.
So think back. Who do you know who's already dead? And just sort of start from there.
This is so sad. So I live in Puerto Vallarta. My favorite bar is kind of like the old man's bar. So like what's been happening this week is a celebration of life of a regular who died. He had a stroke. So like today they were like sprinkling his ashes in the ocean and whatnot. And we're just like a whole weekend of celebrating Steve.
Now here's my question. Why is it an old man's bar that is like your favorite?
I have no idea. Actually though, which is super relevant for this, is like, there's just really good storytellers there. Like all the regulars are like crazy, weird people, and like just a bunch of fun. And you can sit down and talk to somebody and then like hear all of these crazy experiences. Like one of my friends, she's in her 60s. She's like a retired belly dancer.
Oh, I love her already.
Wow.
I know, she's so awesome.
Oh, and by the way, everyone watching, I'm totally going to go visit Tihi in the coming months. So we'll probably do a Storytellers Happy Hour from Tihi's joint.
Yes.
We could do it from the bar.
Oh, it's kind of loud, but we could totally try to do it from the bar.
We could try to do it. Or maybe from the beach. That would be dope.
Oh, the beach would be dope.
You could get those little headphones with the microphones and go in the bar.
We
have
could
it right
do
up.
that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This is why Nicole is here, because she's smarter than we are.
That is not true.
All right, so I'm gonna pull for Lisa first, and then Nicole, and then myself.
Okay.
So the first one. All right, let me set this down. Yeah, let me open it up. Oh, this is funny.
Sports ball.
So this is a prompt just about sports, because I don't know anything about sports, so I didn't want to say baseball or basketball or whatever, just sports ball.
I'll come up with something.
Okay, all right. So that's yours. And then Nicole. New York City.
Okay.
Do you have a story about New York City?
I can think of one.
Okay, you can make
Okay.
it up too. Don't forget, it doesn't have to be real.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be real. All right, and then the last one. Let's see here. Oh, this one stuck to my finger, so it must be meant to be true.
Woo-hoo!
Oh gosh.
Traveling outside. Oh, honey, yeah. Yep, that's gonna be good.
Because I definitely live outside of the US now.
Yes, you do.
Awesome. Cool. So okay, let's like take a few minutes if we need to.
I'm just
Sort
gonna
of
make.
just
This is just gonna be a stream of consciousness because I don't know anything about sports.
know anything about sports team.
Mm-mm. I mean, yeah, no.
Wait, is there opportunity to like pass around? Does anyone want to take sports ball or sports as a story?
If not, don't worry about it. I'm good at crap.
I'm like blanking on everything right now. So
I know, right? Yeah, same. I'm just like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, let me.
Loosely associated with sports. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Potentially very loosely.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple of different outside of the US stories, but I'm trying to think of like one that would be fun.
Well, and you already just shared one, technically speaking.
I know.
But it's too brief. Like, you gotta go, like, dive into it.
Yeah. Okay, I think I maybe have something. I think I might have
And
something.
Nicole, if you're like, dude, I can't do this, we have a ton of New York stories because I used to work in Manhattan and we used to meet up with a bunch of our other MFAers at this like dive bar. And then afterwards we would go and get takeout pancakes because why not? So.
oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, I kind of want to hear one of your guys' New York stories too. Can you do that too?
You know what we can maybe
we
do?
still have to do something, and then
Okay.
Yeah.
What if we put the other two prompts back in the jar and we all tell a New York City story? This could be our New York City episode.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we could do that. Okay.
I love it. All right. So we're all doing New York City.
We're all doing New York City. Okay. And of course now my mind's like, oh well, it's fine. I'm gonna make crap up.
I have mine too.
Wait. Okay, Nicole, do you want to go first? And then
no, I've got one.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. So, okay. So, as I already revealed, I used to work in Manhattan and I would meet up friends and we would go to, well, my fellow MFAers, we would go to this one crazy dive bar, which had actually really good booze, surprisingly. And actually, the first time we went, we didn't realize they didn't have food. We all thought they had at least appetizers. No, it's pure booze. Which is funny because they said that like that's how they keep their costs down. And I'm like, but most places hike up the cost for food that offset whatever. Anyway, so I'm not telling that story. I'm telling the story of I also really loved going to see Broadway shows and concerts and stuff like that. And you can get really, really, really cheap tickets if you know where to go. So there's one place like in the core of Manhattan off of Broadway that you can walk up to the door, the door and get. It's basically all the tickets that didn't sell for the upcoming, for that day. And I think for the next day. So you can either get really great tickets, you can get really crappy tickets. And then there's some places online where you can get pretty cheap tickets. So I used to be a huge Anne Rice fan. So when I was a teenager, I read all of them. I read The Vampire Lestat. I read The Witching Hour. I read everything. I'm seeing our numbers like go phew. So clearly the people who originally logged in were like, I don't have anything to do with Anne Rice. Y'all can kiss off. Fine. So I skimmed a lot of stuff because she has a tendency to repeat her descriptions kind of significantly. I swear she just did a copy and paste. Like, oh yeah, we're back here. Okay, yep, doing this again. So someone had the great idea to make The Vampire Lestat a Broadway musical. So my one friend, who will remain nameless so that she doesn't kill me, we decided that we had to go see it because it was like we just both had a difficult time visualizing The Vampire Lestat being made into a Broadway musical. And the reviews we saw, let's just say they kind of said like it's hysterically funny and it's not intended to be. Yeah. So we show up, and so I'm here. I have my like long red hair, and I think we both took the train in, and then we were gonna stay in a hotel after. Anyway, so we show up, and the audience is almost all goth. Like, we're the only two who aren't like hardcore gothic, right? Like, you know, clearly natural hair colors blonde and it's dyed jet black, right? Like full on black. People who have, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. There was a trend for a while where people were getting fake fangs, like inserted, like, you know, their dentist would actually put fangs in, or they would get their teeth sharpened. Yeah. So that was the majority of the audience. And we're like, okay, we read some of the reviews. This is going to be entertaining, right? So we're not on the first level. We're on like the second level. And so we've got a good view of the stage. Okay. So they start the show and we're both like, so this will be interesting. It was so melodramatic that you couldn't help but laugh. So, and these are at key points, like when, you know, someone dies and they're so overacted and it's so overdone, and like the songs are so like over the top that, I mean, we are belly laughing. Right? And there's this set of goth folks over here, and a couple of them keep turning and looking at us like they're gonna kill us. Like, so they must have been like more hardcore Anne Rice fans than myself, and I don't know how they justified thinking that this was not hysterically funny, because it was hysterically funny. So we're both trying hard not to like belly laugh throughout this entire show. The show ends, and we just made sure to stay in our seats and like not look at everybody as they left, so that, you know, we were like free and clear of anyone who might be like territorial about Anne Rice and like, you know, how dare you laugh at this critical scene, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we waited pretty much until the theater was emptied out, which by the way wasn't all that hard because it was only like half full, since most of the, you know, theatrical loving people who saw the show, who would normally go and see the show, must have read the reviews and went, no, that's okay, I'm fine. So when we left, we just basically spent the entire walk to our hotel just busting a gut laughing about all these different key parts of, I think it was called Lestat, if I remember correctly. So that was actually one of my most obviously memorable times seeing a Broadway show in New York. Well, I mean, duh, Broadway. And it was also one of the most, I guess you could say, where I acted the most inappropriately during a performance. So
I have a couple of follow-up questions.
and
What year was this?
Follow-up questions. We do that.
Yeah. What year was this?
Oh my God, hold on. I need to look it up now. I think it's Lestat the musical. Which that alone tells you, like, who the hell thought that was a good idea?
Who invested the money to make that happen?
Music by Elton John. Right? Oh my God.
This is like, you have to see it because it's so bad. Like,
Exactly. Playbill.
damn.
Right. Okay. So this was in 2005. Actually, this says it premiered on December 17th, so we probably saw it in the beginning of 2006.
I would have went to it. I would have had the same reaction.
They actually did it in San Francisco too.
Oh,
I kind of wanted to see that now because I want
that
to
means
know.
they had a lot of money behind that then to like workshop it like elsewhere. Oh.
Totally.
My last question is more of a comment because I'm also one of those people, plus I'm drinking, which is that like emo people are the most dramatic people anyway. Like,
Right?
their whole aesthetic is like, don't look at me. But if you give them enough attention, they're just like, oh my God. Like,
So here's the thing. We thought at first, like, this could actually be really good if, oh my God, this got nominated for awards? Nominated for Best Performance by a Featured Actress in a Musical. Best Costume Design of a Musical. That I'd give them.
yeah, that makes sense.
Outstanding Featured Actress in a Musical. Outstanding Actor in a Musical. Oh,
Maybe it was a light year.
They were all nominated. Nobody won.
Of course.
Yeah. So here's the thing. When we saw this, we were both like, and again, friend will remain nameless. And actually, at some point, we went to this, and I don't think this was this trip, but we went to for a while, there was this thing where you went to experiences and you kind of like walked through like these live engagement things. And this one was based on Edgar Allan Poe. And at the end, we actually got absinthe. And my absinthe drink kicked ass. And her absinthe drink wasn't mixed properly. So let's just say I was very happy for the rest of the evening, and she was not a happy camper. But anyway, so to your point, Tihi, right? Like, if you did it right, then the performance, if they downplayed it, it would have been brilliant, right? But instead, they played up the whole melodramatic, I'm evil, I am here to kill you. Like, it was that kind of like, what are you doing? Please stop it, right? But if they would have downplayed it, it could have been like huge. I don't think it lasted 6 months.
I'm trying to think of like a non-melodramatic vampire.
No, honey, no.
They're all emo. Like,
when did they do it in San Francisco?
Ooh, let me see.
Want to be like 2020.
Right? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, it was actually in San Francisco first. What? 2005 in San Francisco.
This happens. They workshop a lot of Broadway musicals in San Francisco first, but you have to pay a lot of money. Like, you have to get like the director, the cast, everybody out there, and then fly them back and continue to work on it. So like, this had backers.
Yeah, so let's go back to who the hell thought that was a good idea? Like, they workshopped it in San Francisco and went, yes, that's great for Broadway. Like, what is that?
Yeah, that's almost worse.
Right? It's awful. It is
and like
totally worse.
Your average New Yorker theater goer, while they might look kind of goth because everyone in New York wears black all the time, they're like the most ungoth people ever, right? Like, because I used to go to theater a lot, you know, there's a lady in her mink coat and like everybody has opinions and whatnot. And like wrong. They didn't read the room. They didn't read the room.
They did not. I don't know what they were thinking because this was not it. Yeah, no, when the real goths showed up, I mean, they were like, this one guy looked at me in such a way that I was like, you actually think you're a vampire, don't you? You're emotionally connecting to these characters in a way that you shouldn't be, right? Great. I'm going to go to the bathroom right before the closing scene so that I don't have to run into you.
Man, because people go hard for Anne Rice. They do not play around.
They do not play, which I kind of get, but not like that. But I'm not like that with anything, so.
Yeah. Also, I don't think she's the best writer. I'm sorry.
Well, for like a 16, 17-year-old, sure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for not, no.
So all around, it just sucked.
No, I mean, I would go see it again just because it was so funny. I would just make sure, I would be careful where I sat. It was that bad. It was.
You would go to the matinee because all the vampires won't be there.
Right?
Because the sunlight will kill them.
Exactly. For us, it would be cheaper. We could get front row for like $20. It doesn't say how long it ran. I was trying to find it out.
Okay. I mean,
Aren't you glad we switched to a New York themed?
I'm really glad because this gave me a couple ideas, but I do think I have like a clincher though.
Yes. Okay.
So in that interest, we will pivot to Nicole for your New York story.
Okay, I have to ask you guys, have you had Junior's cheesecake and have you been to Carmine's?
Both.
I don't think I've had Junior's cheesecake, but I've been to Carmine's.
You've never had Junior's cheesecake?
Oh my God. It's so good. It's so good.
Okay. And it's like massive. Like they come out in slices that are like
oh my God.
4 meals. It's amazing.
All right, so when I'm on the East Coast, we're gonna go to Manhattan and we'll pick
Hey,
up.
you can get it shipped to you too, but I would be happy to go with you.
All right.
Yeah, the Devil's Food cheesecake is really, really good. If you like that. It's so good.
It's also like their plain cheesecake is just good. Like they don't need to dress it up. It's just good cheesecake.
It's so good. And it just makes it that much better that you can eat as much as you want.
Really?
Yeah, they're huge slices, like maybe a foot tall. No, 8 inches.
God,
8 inches tall, maybe.
Holy crap. Oh my God. All right, so keep going.
Oh my gosh.
As I look after this.
Am I allowed to tell like kind of a bad story?
Yes.
Like not a happy story?
Oh my God.
Are you looking at the cheesecake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. If you're ever on the East Coast, let me know and we should go together.
Oh, we're totally going together. Holy shit. Okay, anyway, go. What's your story?
So my story is short. But I had a friend who went up to New York and they came back. This was at college. They lived in my dorm with me. They came back and they were like all scraped up and like bruised up. And everyone was like, what happened to you? And she was like, oh, like I got mugged. And we were like, you got mugged and you look like that? And she was like, yeah, she went to New York and she went like by herself or something and came back like past midnight. Like she I don't know what she did.
Okay.
But she was in New York at night and apparently these people came and like held her at gunpoint and then like bashed in her ribs with the gun. She had to go to the hospital.
Oh my God.
She was like really in awful shape. Yeah. And they like took everything from her. And yeah, they didn't know who did it. They couldn't do anything about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So not as happy as Junior's cheesecake, but that's my New York story. I also have a very short, another New York story. I was driving to New York one time and I had to pee so badly because I drank a lot of water. And my boyfriend and I were driving to like the Statue of Liberty area. I don't even know what that's called.
Yeah.
And
Jersey.
I had to pee so badly, but this was like at the point in our relationship where I didn't want to like be an inconvenience. So I was like, I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why. But we're driving and I'm like getting kidney pains. And we're like driving through New York. There's all this traffic. We finally get to this park area and I'm like full blown sprinting. Like people were looking at me like, what the heck is happening?
Oh
I was
my
like full blown sprinting through the park, trying to get to a bathroom. And oh my gosh, yeah, it was, looking back on it, it was funny, but in the moment it was terrifying.
Right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's always, when I was living there, it's like the long subway ride, and then you have to pee, but you've never hit any of these in-between stops, so you don't know what's above ground. You just
Yeah.
know that station, and you're
Yeah.
like, is it enough to risk it? And then you go up
Yeah,
and you're
that's the way
You're
Philly
like,
is
no.
too.
you like throw money at a bodega, and you're like, I have to pee, I'll buy something.
Right?
Yeah.
And half the time, if you're on like an Amtrak train, the bathroom's like closed. And if you're on a local, like, no. Mm-mm.
So, do you remember it was right before the pandemic, HBO had this show called Run with an actress I love named Merritt Weaver, who, like, the whole plot, I didn't finish watching the show for obvious reasons that will become obvious. But the pilot, she's like living in California, this housewife, and she gets a text message from this guy that says run. And then she like completely cuts her life off. She like gets a sitter for the kids, goes to the airport, flies to New York City, like gets a haircut and changes her clothes, and then gets on an Amtrak train and then meets this guy she used to date in college, who sent her the text message. And I guess that was like their code word for like, let's just like risk everything and just be together and be on the run from who knows what. But anyway, they're like flirting and whatnot. And she's like, oh, I have to use the restroom. And she was like so turned on that when she's in the restroom, she ends up, this is bad. She ends up like on the floor in this Amtrak bathroom, like pleasuring herself because she's so excited about this guy. And it's supposed to be this like hot sexual moment. But I was like, I've been on Amtrak trains. That's disgusting.
It's
like,
disgusting. Oh
ew, ew.
I love when like writers don't think about how there are actual people that actually go to these places and know that they're gross.
Exactly. Like that's just nasty.
Every
I think that was
Amtrak
a
train.
rewrite. And if the writer was smart, they fought it. Like,
Yeah.
This is a good idea. I think we're gonna alienate.
Every Amtrak bathroom is like radioactive. Like
it is totally, even when it's clean, no.
Yeah. Is it clean?
No.
Somehow everyone seems to be like sick out of one end or the other when they go into those bathrooms. It's disgusting.
This is an amazing segue for my New York story. All right. So what year was this? This had to be about like 2014, maybe 2013. I was working and living in Brooklyn. I was working for this political party, the Working Families Party. I could say that because this isn't going to incriminate them at all. We used to have staff night every Thursday where like all of us on staff would go to like one bar and we would drink. And I was a canvasser at the time, which means that I also got paid on Thursday. So it was like the day I had the most money. So I was like, yeah. And there happened to be one day where I felt like I was looking like really, really cute. So I was in Brooklyn drinking, having fun with my coworkers. But I was like, you know, I look good. I need to be seen. I need to go to Christopher Street and see what can happen. So I leave staff night early. Granted, I've had like 9 beers. So like, but I can throw them back. But I've been going really light on this 40.
I wouldn't be able to walk out on 9 beers. Like, that's significant.
Yeah, it gets worse. And this isn't even a story about me. So I end up on Christopher Street. I go to Ty's bar, which is also the old man bar. This is, I guess, just my brand. I like old gay men bars. Like, they're fun. And I was at Ty's bar for a minute. And then I decided to go to Boot and Saddle, not at its new location, if it still exists because of the pandemic, but at its previous pre-pandemic new location. No, it was at the old location. So it was on Christopher Street.
Okay.
And I sit down, I have a drink, start talking to this guy, this like older white man. And he's like kind of handsome and he's like super hitting on me. And we're talking, he's expressing interest and he's trying to drink toe to toe with me. And I was like, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. I was like, one, I'm already drunk. I showed up drunk. Two, I'm drinking beer and you're drinking like vodka Sprites. So like that's liquor. Like I'm drinking beer. I can drink more beer. Like you probably should not. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm older than you. I can like handle my business and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I guess. So I started drinking slower because maybe I want to hook up with this guy. And he's like being a little like friendly and everything. So, and we just stayed sitting there for so long that I guess I thought he was okay. But he was like, I want to take you back to my apartment. And I was like, yes, let's go. So we stand up. And then I realized how drunk he is. He like cannot make it to the door without help. Like as soon as he got up, the whole world shifted. He's in a tilt-a-whirl. And I'm like, oh shit. So we make it out the door and had a little stoop, the front door, and he just falls. He falls flat on the sidewalk. Aww. And there's a whole row of taxis, and then they all just go. They all just leave.
They're like, no, not me. Nope.
Nope, not doing this. So I have to pick this man up, put his arm over my shoulder, and I'm like, all right, let's try to get a taxi. And I'm like, are you aware enough to know where you live? Because I had at least that amount of sense. Also, at the time, I had like 6 roommates. So I was like, I can't do this to several other people. We have to go back to your place. So I'm like, can you remember where you live? Can you remember? He's like slurring his words and whatnot. Takes forever to get a cab. I'm a black man. I have a drunk white man on me. Like I'm like flagging cabs down. We finally get in the cab and he's able to say where he lives. He lives in Queens somewhere. I was a Brooklyn kid when I was in New York. I love Queens.
Whatever.
I don't go to Queens.
I'm more Brooklyn. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm like Brooklyn or Manhattan. I know that doesn't make any damn sense, but
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Queens is a little confusing. So we get to Queens. I have no idea where the hell I am, right? But he's like somewhat able to make it. He seems a little bit more coherent. So we make it to his apartment. It's a huge apartment building. He has an elevator, thank God. We get up into his room. He has this really nice studio where it's like a living room area and a bed area, and then this like long hallway to like a bathroom and a kitchen. And so that means his bed is basically in the living room. So we're like talking, and before you know it, like I don't have a shirt on. He didn't have any clothes on, and we're like in his bed, and we're like making out and like getting into it, and then he like jerks. He's like,
no.
And he just a little bit throws up on me, just the smallest amount, and then realizes what's happening and bolts out of the bed, runs down the hallway. And I'm sitting here like, I think I was just thrown up on, but it's like small. I'm like, maybe it's fine.
Oh my God.
Then I hear him tumble like a fucking box of rocks. And so I was like, oh, he's not okay. He's not okay. So I make it to the hallway towards the bathroom, and it's literally coming out of both ends of this guy like a fucking water hose. Just like,
wow.
and it's like splashing against the walls. And like, I don't know what is coming from where. And then he starts crying. Like he has these fits where it's not a water fountain or not a water hose, like a few minutes where he's just like collected himself and crying, and then just like,
oh my God,
like,
poor thing. That's
poor
awful.
guy. Poor guy. And so I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, I could reach some bathroom towels from his pantry before stepping into the hallway, because the whole hallway was just bad. So I'm like, one towel, step, next towel, step. And I can eventually get closer and closer to this man. Poor guy. And he's like crying and everything. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so I was like, all right, let me just throw him in the bathtub. And then I'll turn the shower on. I can like rinse him off and stuff like that. And he's just like apologizing and apologizing, and I'm starting to rinse him off, and it's obvious that like he like has some sort of alcohol poisoning. So I was like, I need to make sure that he's okay and he's not gonna like fucking die. But then as I'm cleaning him off, I also have this thought. The last thing that he probably remembers is meeting me at a bar, and he's gonna wake up to a bunch of biohazard all over his apartment. And I was like, I need him to know that he did this and that I didn't do this. And so like, how can I do this? And I get the perfect drunk thought, which is just don't clean him up entirely and put him in his bed. So he will wake up in his bed soiled and then look around and like make the connection that he did this. So I have to turn the shower off. We have to like slide through the hallway to like get back into his room. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, you're fine. You're fine. Just go to sleep. It's all good. It's all good. He finally goes to sleep. And I think all of this man's drugs are mine now. Whatever drugs I can find in his apartment. Because like, even though he's asleep, he probably has alcohol poisoning. I still have to be here to make sure that he makes it through the night, which means like every couple of hours, I need to shake him to make sure he's awake. Like, are you awake? Are your pupils dilated or are they reactive? Like, let me make sure you don't die. And when I'm convinced you're not going to die, I'm going to leave. But in the meantime, like any kind of drugs you have are mine now. So he has a bunch of
drunken thought process.
Yes, he has a bunch of liquor in the freezer. So I'm like, great. So I have that. I'm like mixing myself some drinks. I guessed his password on his iMac because I wrote in password and then everything opened.
Oh my God.
So then I start playing music and it turns out we had a lot of musical interests in common. I was like, oh, I love this song. Oh, I love this song. Like, we would have been really compatible if you didn't throw up on me and chat all over yourself in your house.
Wow.
But then I get through the alcohol and it's still only like 4:00 in the morning. And I was like, is there weed? Is there anything else? So I decided to go through the medicine cabinet and I find, which is, I should have a trigger warning. And I'll explain this, but I find AZT, an HIV retroviral medication, of which he never told me he was HIV positive, even though we were both like, he was naked. I was not fully naked. Like we were, if he wouldn't have thrown up and shat all over himself, we were going to have sex. So I'm like, at what point was this guy going to tell me he was HIV positive? Which is no shame to people who are HIV positive. Like,
no, but still.
No. But still, I was like, it's not good practice. So I was like, I'm just going to leave that alone. I did end up finding some like Klonopin and some other muscle relaxers, which are kind of fun when you're drunk because I went to school at Georgia Southern. I know these things. So I had a fun time listening to his music until the sun came up, waking him up every 2 hours. And he seemed okay. And like every time I wake him up, he's more and more lucid. So it's like 9:00 in the morning and I wake him up again. And he's like, oh, I remember you. And I was like, wow, great. And I'm like, you made it through the night. And you know what? I tried my best to clean everything up, but I have to go. And then I left.
Wow. Oh my God.
What did he say to you?
He didn't say anything. I also took his cigarettes. They were on the counter by the door, but I took his cigarettes too.
He's probably watching right now and he's like, God damn it, that's where they went?
Right? Totally.
I think he had more pressing problems.
Seriously. Like, honestly, so how did you not, I don't know that I would have been able to stay in the apartment because the smell.
So he was really, really drunk. So a lot of this was whatever he was eating last, but it's like really watered down because I thought the same thing. I was like, this doesn't smell nearly as bad as I think it does. Also, I have a poor sense of smell anyway.
Oh, Got it.
Let me put that on my dating profile.
I would have been vomiting alongside him but like the smell would have been a trigger. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. A lot of it was very watery from the vomit. The other
wow.
side.
Oh.
I wonder if he just didn't think to tell you that he was HIV positive because he was so drunk.
Maybe I was like, I will give him that grace. I will give him that grace. I also did like clean out all the liquor he had. He had some weed. I smoked all of his weed, took all of his cigarettes. I did a lot of his prescription drugs.
Wow. Okay.
But did you die though?
No, he did not die. I mean, I admit I've never had a hookup like that before. Like I've had guys who are like, so let's go to mine. I'm like, woo, gotta go. But this is like pre being married, by the way. Like, just to be clear, I've been married since 2013 and we've been together since 2012. So I'm not talking about anything within that span. But yeah.
Oh my God, one of the worst ones at Georgia Southern. Sorry to tell a short Georgia Southern story.
Go ahead.
I used to fuck this cop so I could like get out of house parties when they got busted. So I used to fuck this cop, and he came over. We had like the sex, everything. He stayed the night. In the morning, I went to go take a shower. I was like, I gotta take a shower, and he's like, is it okay if I use the restroom? And I'm like, sure, yeah, fine. So I'm in the shower. He's in the restroom of my apartment. He's not going number one. And he's like really, and like I have to smell it, I have to hear it, I have to sit there for the whole thing, and like I am done showering myself, but like I don't want to like interrupt him, so I just have to like sit there in the shower like the whole time.
I'm sorry, no.
And then we stopped sleeping together.
Oh wow, your school sounds like a whole new planet.
Right?
We were nuts. We were pretty nuts. Alicia Delory Barksdale, who's an author of Running Wild Press, went to undergrad with me at Georgia Southern.
Yep.
So we have
crazy stories.
Yeah. You need. I don't know what you need to go to Georgia Southern. You need to like some amount of like reckless abandon of your life and other people's lives just to be able to go there and then you'll be fine.
I actually think I know someone that went there because they were like a big partier in high school. They went there and then they ended up transferring because it was too much.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was that school. Yeah.
See,
it's bad.
I got nothing. I went to Drexel University and I was there on scholarship. And I worked like half to full time the whole time I was an undergrad, so I don't have any good stories.
Oh, I have too many. I started to learn how to gauge the debris pattern of various fires to figure out what kind of accelerants were used.
Wow. Oh my God.
And you're like, this is a fire. That's an explosion.
Wow. Now, the benefit of this is it helps you now with your storytelling. So you can use all of this random knowledge.
It's got to be good for something. It's either storytelling or therapy. One of the two.
Or both. Who knows?
Storytelling and therapy.
Exactly.
Oh my God. This is why I haven't done therapy in years. I did therapy a lot as a kid because I also had a messed up childhood. But anyway, I'm afraid because like once I start telling stories, like a friend of mine who I also went to Georgia Southern with got therapy when she was older. And like she had to like keep confirming with me Georgia Southern stories about what was real because the therapist didn't believe her. And I was like, no, I was at that party. Like yes. Like,
wow. Oh my God.
It was weird. Like she just was like not believed by her own therapist. And I was like, that's terrible. But also
it's true.
It's true. It's really true.
Wow. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to thank everybody who's watched or will be watching this Running Wild Storytellers Happy Hour with our special guest, Nicole, who we, again, love, love, love. Thank everybody for joining us. And we want you to please come and join us again next month. I'm not sure who we'll talk somebody into coming and telling them all their
we'll
little
figure it
dark
out.
secrets while they're drinking something interesting. So for everybody, have a fantastic weekend. We love everybody, and we will see you next time.